Hello, welcome to another episode of Jim's on the Garden. Okay, I'll just take you a quick tour around the allotment. So the comfrey is about to get chopped down. I was planning to do it today, but I've been busy weeding and stuff. So all of this is going to be chopped up and put into the comfrey tea making. What I have done over the past couple of days is drained off all of the tea which is in there. So basically, this tub is now empty, apart from the the remains of the stalks and that. So that'll be emptied, and then all of this will be chopped up. Now that the flowers are finished, because the bees really like the flowers, that's all going to be chopped up and put into here, and then we'll be making some more sort of fresh comfrey tea. On here we've got some Asparagus, small plants that need to be potted up. This is the Asparagus that we planted this year, and there's a few hollyhocks here ready. There's just some tomato plants that weren't used. Right, in the first greenhouse here, as you can see, this is all the peppers. So we've got over here we've got jalapenos. As you can see, the first ones are just starting to form on there. So these are growing really well. Obviously, what I've got is these are all potted up into 8 or 9 inch pots, sitting in water, and I'm filling these trays probably once every 3 or 4 days. Over here we've got the sweet peppers. As you can see, they're all in bud. So they're all doing well. These have been fed with comfrey tea. So what I'm doing is I'm watering them from the top with comfrey tea, and then watering them with just normal fresh water at the bottom. You do get some algae forming in the bottom, as you can see, but you don't really need to worry about that too much. But those are the peppers. So everything in this greenhouse basically is sort of peppers. So we've got sweet peppers on that side. On this side we've got jalapenos at the back, and then here we've got the jalapenos up to here. And then in this one here we've got the Mohawk Redhorn peppers. So that's kind of all of these lot here. So but they're all pretty much at the same stage. They're all sort of just starting to flower. You can see flowers at the back here, just starting to form. What I might need to do is move them slightly further forward, because some of the ones at the back, as you can see, are starting to touch the glass. So what I might need to do is just bring them slightly further forward. Anyway, that's the first greenhouse. In the second greenhouse is basically the tomatoes. As you can see, we've got tomatoes forming. So these are also being fed with comfrey tea every, well, sort of twice a week. This is the comfrey tea here that has been drained off. And as you can see, they're now sort of 3 or 4 foot high, the plants. So these all need sort of tying back. I have already tied them back once, but obviously there's the second fruiting truss starting to come, so they need to be tied back again near the second fruiting truss. There's tomatoes all around, as you can see. There's sort of tomatoes there as well. So these are all moneymaker tomatoes round here. These first 3 plants here are the yellow golden sunrise tomatoes, which are basically derived from the moneymaker, as is Alicante, but I haven't grown any Alicante this year. Obviously what you need to do with the tomatoes is obviously make sure all of these side shoots get sort of broken off, and the easiest way to do that is just as you're going around watering at night, just have a quick look for any side shoots, and the easiest way to do it is just there's a side shoot there, just basically pull it off to the side and it should snap off. What I have been doing, I have noticed on this bottom plant down here, I did actually get a little bit of blight on the leaves, which I was quite surprised at, because, as you know, this got a really good scrub out from last year. So what I've done is I've cut off the affected leaf, and obviously put that in the recycling bin, so that shouldn't affect. Touch wood, I've not seen any other, but obviously I need to keep my eye open. for any kind of damage. And what you need to be looking for is dark patches on the leaves. That's the first signs of blight. But as I say, this is the plant here that was affected, and I'm not seeing any other signs of it on the plant as of yet. But you need to be, you know, this time of year they're going to be throwing these side shoots out on sort of quite a regular basis. So all you need to do is go around and like this one here, for example, just push it off to the side like that and it'll snap, and then take it back the other way and it'll snap off altogether. If it does get quite big, what I recommend you do is just get a pair of secateurs and cut it off. But they do grow really quickly. This time of year tomato plants are very sort of rapid growing, and these side shoots all sort of form literally overnight, and before you know where you are, they're sort of 3 or 4 inches long. So you just need to keep your eye open. They do form. What you can get is them sort of forming at the bottom of the plant as well, so you need to look all the way down to the bottom of the plant as well. So not only at the top here will they form, but also further down the plant. Even if you pulled one out, it can go back and start forming one from the bottom. But anyway, that's the tomatoes for you. We've got the these are the two Gardener's Delight, which are the sort of the small cherry tomatoes. Now, I've never grown these as a cordon type, as in just one stem. I had a few comments on the channel the other week when I said that I grow these as a bush. So I've taken that on. What I'm going to try and do is grow these as a cordon. Obviously I need to put some sticks in there. But what I'm doing is taking the side shoots out, and I'm going to try and grow them as a cordon, see how I get on with that, as a bit of an experiment. But as I say, you know, you can spend hours going around pulling out the side branches, and you can still miss a couple. So just keep your eye on that as they're growing. But these are growing really quickly. What I will be doing in a couple of weeks' time is taking off the bottom 3 or 4 lots of leaves. The reason being is if any blight starts to form, it'll always start at the bottom, which is where it's wet, and then it'll work its way up the plant. So, and also what you want to do is get maximum airflow and light through to the plant as well. So the plant doesn't really need the bottom 2 or 3 sets of leaves. So when they get to this kind of size, what you can be doing is just taking off these leaves. It really you need to sort of cut them off with a pair of secateurs, but you can just pull them off like that, and then like that. And then what it'll do is it'll keep the airflow around the bottom of the plant, you know, considerably better, and then you know, you're less likely to get any problems with any kind of fungal diseases like blight. So that's the first greenhouse. So I've spotted one more. So you can be doing this. I've already done this twice this week, and there's a massive one there. Actually, look at that one. You can be pulling branches off all week. Right, here we've got some sunflowers that definitely need to go out. I've been meaning to get them out for a couple of weeks now, but yeah, they're overdue for going out. There's some Don Pedro planter down here which need to be potted up now, and there's some more. This is the celeriac plants. What I'm going to do is plant them in that bit of ground out there, where just by the spring onions. There's only sort of half a dozen or so plants there really, so I'm just going to bob them in down there to grow them on. Right, so that's the greenhouse. Obviously we've got the grapes up here. I do still need to go through actually and cut out some of these grapes because there's far too many bunches in here. But I have been thinning out branches and stuff. But what I need to do is go through and just sort of cut these back and take out all of the grapes apart from probably about 10 bunches. I know I said that on the last video, I just haven't got around to doing this because I've been too busy weeding. Right, this year really is the season of the weeds. We've got weeds everywhere. I've spent 4 hours today pulling weeds out, believe it or not. But anyway, as I say, I've already mentioned the comfrey. The mint and the hollyhock, as you can see now, is about 7 foot tall, absolutely full of flowers, buds. So I've actually supported that with a iron stake in here because I was worried that the wind was going to get it the other night. But then we've got the lemon balm. This is the oregano plant, which is growing quite well. Also mint, sage at the back. The rosemary still isn't looking good, so what I'm going to be doing, I think, is taking that bush out altogether and shredding it, and then this one here, which isn't showing any signs of any problem, moving that back where this one was. I'll obviously sort of refresh the ground as well, but I'm not sure why it's done that. I can only think that it's because the ground is too wet, because when it's been raining, when we've had sudden downpours of rain, these water butts here have sort of overflowed. But I don't understand why this one at the front hasn't suffered as well. But anyway, this isn't recovering. I've left it a few months now and it doesn't seem to be making any signs of recovery. So I think it's time to chop that out. Right, here we got the celery. As you can see, that's growing quite nicely. I've been watering this pretty much every day because it's been so dry. And I've got a couple of there's a couple more butternut squashes there, and this is the asparagus that was grown last year, so that's just sort of growing there for this year. Again, this is the comfrey here. That's all kind of flopped over, so this is also going to be chopped up and put into the tub for making comfrey tea. The asparagus, as I say, it's been sort of let to go now, so what I need to do is support this a little bit. The raspberries, we've been picking probably about 3 or 4 pound of raspberries every night for the past couple of weeks. As you can see, there's still loads on there now. This is a yellow variety of raspberry. It's nice to look at, but it's nowhere near as flavoursome as the standard red raspberry. So it's kind of nice to look at, but the flavour's nowhere near as good as the red. So if you're going for flavour, go for the red ones. Strawberries are pretty much done now. We've been picking, I think we've got something like 7 kilos of strawberries, believe it or not, out of here. There is still the odd one coming, but I think they're pretty much done. Up here we've got the Jalapenos. As you can see, they're starting to darken off now. Obviously, a Jalapenos are a hybrid between a gooseberry and a blackcurrant, so that's why they get this dark sort of colour when they're ripe. But we'll be picking these before too much longer. The cherry tree's been doing well. We've been picking cherries, as you can see, for a couple of weeks now. We've had quite a few cherries off it this year. As you can see, there's plenty cherries on. Still got this black fly on, which I need to sort of deal with. So what I'm going to do is chop the end off these stems. And then we've got the other Jalapenos, and then the apples down the bottom there. But as you can see, how many raspberries we've got going on. They really are, the bushes are absolutely covered in. And I picked some, not last night, the night before, and basically there wasn't a single red raspberry on these canes, and now look at them, they're pretty much everywhere again. So we've done really well for fruit this year. Right, the potatoes aren't doing too badly. There's loads of weed in there. Believe it or not, I've been through and I've weeded these potatoes about 2 or 3 times already, and there's still weeds. You can see little weeds coming up between the potatoes. Obviously, I'm a bit concerned going in there now because the potatoes are so big. I'm concerned about disturbing the ground and that. But what I have been doing is going in there and taking the tops off the weeds. But I did that side last couple of days, and I'm going to be doing this side over the next couple of days as well. But right, so that's the potatoes. Right, in this tunnel here, right, the sweet peas are just starting to come. They're quite slow growing. They've been watered every night, but they are still sort of quite slow and growing. This time last year they were almost at the top now, but I have been watering them on a daily basis. What I might need to do is put some comfrey tea on them actually, just to give them a bit of a boost. But I have already picked a couple of batches of sweet peas off. Right, in here, what we've got going on in here is the so this was all watered last night with the sprinkler. So the and also to pep it up a bit as well, what I've done is I've put coffee. That's what this black stuff is, you can see on the top. I'll sprinkle coffee all over the kale to boost the nitrogen in the ground, just to bring it up. So we have got a bit of damage on this one here, but the rest of them seem to be pretty good. We've had this weevil beetle go through the turnips, as you can see along there. But hopefully they'll sort of pull through. The damage isn't too bad. I'm hoping now they're starting to get a bit bigger that the beetles will leave them alone now. And then we've got the cauliflowers growing there, so they're growing quite well. They're growing quite tall at the moment, but I say I didn't put nitrogen on them because obviously it's the cauliflower, the actual flower that you want as opposed to the leaves. You put nitrogen on anything that you want the leaves from, so obviously the kale's an ideal plant to put that on. Right. This is the second batch of Calabrese. which was put in last week, so these are growing quite nicely. These are the surviving 3 of the first batch which didn't run to seed, and you know, even though the water's on a regular basis, you know, just the temperature, just this hot temperature we're getting in the UK at the moment will tend to make things run to seed, and you'll see this in a minute with the spinach because some of that's run to seed. But we've been struggling with the Calabrese this year because of the temperature. As I say, this is the second batch that's gone in. I rotivated all the ground again, and then sort of planted these new ones in. Obviously those are the older ones there, but I've managed to get the second batch in. Right, so that's the first tunnel. Between the 2 tunnels we've got the parsnips and the spinach and the first lot of celeriac. The parsnips have been all weeded out, as you can see. They aren't brilliant, to be honest with you. I've got quite a few holes. What I've done today is I've actually gone through, completely weeded it, and then where there's gaps, I've gone back and put some more seed in. I've put some more hollow crown and white gem seeds in. I know it's late, but obviously, you know, I'm just trying to fill the rows up with seeds. So that's the parsnips. This is some spinach, the second lot of spinach that went in, and then we've got, sort of starting from there, we've got the celeriac. This is the kale from last year, which is run to seed now. So what I will be doing now is harvesting the seed off this. So I might put a clip in this video on that, but basically all you need to do is as soon as the plant really dies off like these are now, you collect the, you know, the good sized seed pods, let them dry out, and then you can collect the seed from the inside. So I should have a good selection of seeds there. At the back you can see some, obviously there's sunflowers dotted all the way along, and there's the butternut squashes which aren't doing brilliantly, which is why I want to get these out. But they're being watered on a regular basis as well. So that's the kale running to seed for next year, and that's the Petrage kale. And then obviously these are the sunflowers that are planted every sort of 14 inches or so up there. So as soon as the kale comes out, obviously the sunflowers will take over. Right, in the second tunnel we've got 2 rows of beetroot, as you can see here. Beetroot's doing really well this year. And then on this side here we've got spinach. Unfortunately, a reasonable amount of the spinach has run to seed, as you can see these seed pods at the top. So there's not a lot I can do with that. These have been watered on a regular basis, so the cause of them running to seed is basically the weather being so hot. There's not really a lot I can do about that. So all I can do is just cut off these seed heads and try and hold it back, but unfortunately, because of the weather being the way that it has been, they've run to seed. I've got a second batch planted in here as well, so they're just coming on now. So these are all watered, believe it or not, last night, but look how dry the ground is. Right, so that's the first tunnel, as I say, but the beetroot's doing really well. You can see there, the size of that. It's about kind of 2 inches across now. So the beetroot's doing all right. As I say, unfortunately the spinach has run to seed, but all I do is take the tops off, and you can either eat the leaves yourself, or I typically feed those to the chickens. The chickens will thank you for that. And then that'll hold it back running to seed. But as I say, with the weather that it's been this year, you know, things are going to run to seed, unfortunately. Right, from the onions point of view, obviously the rhubarbs as is, it's starting to die back now, and that will sort of come back in September. But as I say, we've seen the best of the rhubarb for this year. These are the onions. These have all been, that half there has been weeded out today. This half was weeded last week, and there was nothing here last week, and you can see now the weed growing back again. So this year really is the year of the weed. It's I've been weeding probably about, on average, about an hour a day to try and keep the weeds down, but as I say, you know, they just keep coming. But the onions are doing well. We've had a couple run to seed, and there's a couple that have missed, but apart from that, the onions are doing pretty well. These are the string beans. Again, I've had quite a few weeds in these, but these are growing well. They're almost at the top now. Some of them are actually at the top. But I've had a couple, even though it's been watered on a regular basis, I've had a couple of plants die off for some reason. I'm not quite sure why, but there are other plants there that'll sort of take the place, if you like. But they are still growing, but they tend to be dividing a lot this year. Again, I think that's possibly down to the weather being the way that it is. But typically with runner beans and string beans, they get to the top, Then you take the top out. As soon as they reach the top, for example this one here, see that one's reached the top now, so all you need to do is if you reach up and then just nip off that end piece. What that'll tend to do now is that plant will start to bush out and send up more runners from the bottom, but for some reason this year they've been doing that all on their own. They've been, as you can see, they're quite bushy at the bottom, but they're not getting a lot of height, and I think that's due to the heat that we've had over the past couple of weeks. They are still unravelling themselves. You know, the plants aren't really happy with this weather that we're having at the moment. I think it's far too hot for them. It's suiting the weeds really well, but so see this one here, as you can see, that one's died off. I'm not quite sure why. This has been regularly watered, and these leaves here seem to be sort of shrivelling up a little bit, so I'm not quite sure what's causing it, but they're not doing too badly, all things considered. But right, this is the other side of the onions. As you can see, the onions are doing really well. These are the ones that would put in with seed, but you can see there's a pretty good girth on that. And these are the sets at the back. Again, they're doing quite well. These were all weeded out this morning. Right, that's the colour. That's growing all right. These are the pumpkin plants, all starting to sort of shoot now. These have been watered every night, but even so, you know, this time of day they're still dry. But these I was putting half a can of water on each of these last night, and the ground's already dry, so you know, you can just see from the temperature, you know, it's really dry on the ground. So those are the 5 pumpkin plants. These are also being fed with comfrey tea. These are the butternut squash plants, which are all sort of throwing the runners out this way at the moment. So these are the green leaves with the sort of white sort of veins in them. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. And what I'm doing is the runners, I'm kind of pushing them that way so they'll grow over here. These are the courgette plants. As you can see, they're just starting now to form some courgettes in the middle. So we'll be able to have some courgette before too much longer. So there's plenty of flowers coming. Right, these are the runner beans. These are doing all right. They're just starting to come into flower now, but again, this time last year, these were looking a lot better than they are at the moment. Even though these are being watered, the plants don't seem to be anywhere near as strong as they normally are. But you know, and I've weeded these, believe it or not, 2 or 3 times already, and there's still weed coming through. So there's just weed everywhere this year. It's incredible the amount of weeding I've had to do. But as I say, you know, these runner beans by now should be up here and really nice and bushy, but they've not grown anywhere near. But this, you know, even saying that, you know, there's still lots of flower buds forming all the way up the stem, so you know, they are coming into flower, but they're nowhere near as sort of leafy or as long or as strong as they normally are. So I just think it's the weather that we've had this year just hasn't suited them well at all. This is the other side of the potatoes. As you can see, bits of weed all the way in. But you know, I have been going through, like this area here, you can see where I've been through and pulled all the weeds out. But and the potato plants have flopped over because the ground's so dry. It's really difficult to water potatoes because you need to get really good penetration. You need to completely soak them, which takes hours of a sprinkler going on. You know, potentially 4 or 5 hours before you're going to get down to the actual potatoes. If you only water potatoes for half an hour or so, all you're doing is watering the weeds. You're not watering the potato plants themselves. So unless you can soak them for a good 4 hours, there's no point even trying. But as I say, these potatoes have flopped over because the ground is so dry. You can see it's actually like dust around here. Right, so that's the potatoes. It's the other side of the strawberries. You can just see a few strawberries remaining, but we have done well with the strawberries this year. And the raspberries, they've most certainly done well. Right, here we've got the broad beans, as you can see. We're just starting to pick them now. There's plenty more on there to pick. And then we've got over here more weeds. We've got the first lot of spring onions there that we have taken some out already, but there's plenty more in there. And then we've got the second batch of spring onions in there. But you know, they're doing okay. And we're back to the beginning. So that's what the allotment looks like on the I think it's the 22nd or 23rd today. Okay, and in the third greenhouse we've got the cucumbers, as you can see, all the way across. Now these are sitting in a tray, and the trays are normally filled with water. This one just needs to be topped up. As you can see all the way up, we've got lots of cucumbers forming. This one here, you can see that they're forming quite well. Now these are going to grow up to the top here, then I'm going to run some canes down. Plants don't normally like to grow downwards, but these will sort of grow down some canes. And on this side, this is another thing that I've been doing between weeding the allotment. I've built another bench in here, which is a lot higher than the previous one. The reason for doing this is it allows me to get in the lawnmower and the rotavator and stuff underneath. So it's allowed me to kind of store stuff away underneath the benches. But this has just been made out of 2x3, which is bolted into the framework of the greenhouse. And then this is just some old pallet wood that I've recycled. So everything's 100% recycled. And I'll be able to use this now as a potting shed, or to grow some other stuff in here. But yeah, I've kind of built this bench basically just so I can get stuff underneath out of the way, and it allows me more room to sort of move in and out. But that's the third greenhouse. Okay, so as you can see, I've cut the comfrey down, which was here. And all I've done is I've put it into the empty box. This is, you can put it into any container, ideally one that's black so the light doesn't get into it. And then this has got I've put a pipe at the bottom here which allows me to drain it off into a bottle or whatever. But you don't necessarily need to do that. All you need is a black box like this, and then put all the comfrey in there wholesale. The stalks, the leaves, the buds, everything will go in there, no problem at all. Chop it all up as best you can. Don't add water to it. Now, a lot of people say, oh, comfrey tea always smells quite bad. It will do if you add water to it. If you add water, the bacteria will start, and then that's when it starts to smell. All you need to do is don't add any water or anything. Just put it into a tub like this. It'll break down on its own, and then it'll give you the purest sort of comfrey tea coming out the bottom when you've done it. As I say, if you haven't got a tub with a pipe on it, just put it into any old bin. This bin here will do. Fill the bin with it, put the lid on it, and then just pour it out afterwards. Then all you need to do is basically compress it down. You need to keep it compressed, and all I do is just get an old roofing tile, put that on the top like that, and push it down as best you can. Put a lid on it to keep the light out and any bugs or anything like that, because flies will get in there and lay eggs and stuff if you're not careful. And then just leave that for 2 to 3 to 4 weeks, and then you'll start to see the juice coming down as it breaks down inside. You don't need to do any more than that. As I say, don't add water to it, because that's when it'll smell if you add water. And then in the meantime, the rest of the comfrey will be grown. As you can see, there's already a new shoot here and here that'll come through, and then by the time all of that's exhausted and you've got all the comfrey tea off, you'll be ready to put the next lot in, and it just cycles around like that. And what it does give you, as I've explained before, is it gives you lots of bottles of this stuff, which is nice comfrey tea. Add that about half a cup to a cup into a watering can like that, and then you can put that on to anything that fruits or flowers will benefit from that. So anything like the peppers, the tomatoes, aubergines, any flowers that you've got, anything that fruits. So things like all of the gourds, the pumpkins, the courgettes and the butternut squashes, anything like that will benefit from this. And all you need to do is put about half a cup to a cup into a watering can like that. Water it on once or twice a week, and then all the goodness in there, which is rich in potassium and also phosphorus, which is good for roots and also fruit. That'll sort of fertilise the ground, and in liquid form the plants can absorb it really quickly and grow really well. So if you want a really good sized pumpkin, healthy pumpkin, put some of this on once a week, and then let Mother Nature take its course from there. So that's comfrey tea. So I hope this episode was of some use to you. Please don't hesitate to put any comments or questions you got below, and I'll always get back to you. And I'll see you on the next episode of Jim's Love and Garden.